All right, thanks very much. Well, thank you for inviting me here today. I'm going to talk about the state's largest infrastructure project, the California High-Speed Rail Project. If you read the newspapers, here in California, we are in the news just about every day. I get a little news clip service, and newspapers all around the state are writing about this project, either for the project or against the project. But it is a very, very important project for the state of California, we believe. The first phase of this project would be 520 miles from San Francisco to Anaheim. The second phase would increase the project to 800-mile system that would extend the project up to Sacramento and down to San Diego. It would have operating speeds of up to 220 miles an hour. That's 350 kilometers an hour if you convert to the metric system, and would operate at between 110, 125 in urban areas. It is operated with electric power. We believe that it will be a reliable, easy way to travel, and we believe that it will create jobs, stimulate the economy. If we don't build the high-speed rail project, we believe that, first of all, the state of California continues to grow. If too many people don't leave the state, we believe that by the year 2050, we'll have 60 million people compared to the 38 million that we currently have in the state. If we were to build an equivalent capacity to the high-speed rail system, we would need 4,300 new lane miles. That's compared to about 900 lane miles that Caltrans currently adds per year. We would need 115 new airport gates. We'd need 4 new airport runways. And we believe that this is going to cost about $158 billion to provide those alternative transportation investments. And then once you build those alternative transportation investments, you would have to operate and maintain those. And we think that that cost is going to be rather substantial also, about $133 billion over 50 years. The California High-Speed Rail Authority has just put together a revised business plan. These are the 3 buzzwords in that business plan: better, faster, cheaper. Better, it uses the existing rail network, both in Northern California and in Southern California, to best advantage for the overall project. It will provide for investment in early projects that would provide benefits to the overall transportation network earlier than originally anticipated. And the cost has been reduced $30 billion over the previous business plan. And that essentially, is accomplished by investment in the what we call the 2 bookends, the bookends being Northern California and Southern California. We have developed a phasing approach that essentially divides the project into 3 phases. The initial operating segment is the first of those. We anticipate starting construction next year on the initial operating segment and working for the next 8 years on that initial operating segment. Then we go to the phase that we call Bay to Basin, San Francisco Bay to the Southern California Basin, and then to a Phase 1 blended system that would essentially complete the Proposition 1A, the state legislation requirement of having a system from San Francisco to Anaheim. The initial operating segment begins with a 130-mile segment in the Central Valley. People ask, why start in the Central Valley? Well, the Central Valley is essentially the middle of the entire project, and allows us to build in both directions from the center of the overall project. Obviously, Northern California would connect with the existing transportation networks there, the San Joaquin service of Amtrak, as well as Altamont Corridor and the Capitol Corridor Amtrak operations. It closes a very, very important gap here in the state of California. There's a gap right now in the overall rail service between Bakersfield and Palmdale in the Antelope Valley. The reason for that gap is because we have the Tehachapi Mountains, a very substantial mountain range that has not been bridged well over these years. And then going into Southern California, we would connect with the existing Metrolink commuter rail service. We expect to have this service complete by the year 2022 and would require no operating subsidy. For the Bay to Basin, we would then expand the system up to San Jose in Northern California, do that by the year 2027, and in San Jose, we have an existing commuter rail service, Caltrain, operating in the San Francisco-San Jose Peninsula. We would then extend the system further down into not only the San Fernando Valley, but extending down into downtown Los Angeles, connecting with existing transportation networks in the LA Union Station area. And we are currently investigating what we call a one-seat ride that allows, the project to go all the way down to Anaheim, and to do that with a one-seat ride, not allowing any, requiring any transfers at Union Station. The Phase 2 project, as I said earlier, would extend the project up to Sacramento and down to San Diego. This is how we accomplish the $30 billion cost savings, and basically all of that is in the what we call the Phase 1 build, full build scenario. Those are the two bookend transportation investments, both in Northern California and in Southern California. This is the way the current funding scenario breaks down. We have federal, state, and we anticipate private funding that would come into play with this project. The first $6 billion is essentially identified for what we call the initial construction segment in the Central Valley, the 130-mile segment. That would include $3.3 billion in federal funding, $2.7 billion in Prop 1A funding. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then new funding would be identified prior to the initiation of any additional construction. Ridership and revenue, we believe, is going to facilitate private investment. There's been discussion about the public-private partnerships, the 3P scenario, and we believe that that will kick in once we get the system operating with the initial operating segment. There is discussion within our business plan about a cap-and-trade backstop. I heard Mr. Sandman mention this earlier about the cap-and-trade funding that will kick in yet this year. This is the breakout of how the public funding summary currently works. The first column is the federal funding. The second column would be the state match. The state match is currently being discussed. I should say cussed and discussed in Sacramento right now. There are tremendous debates going on in Sacramento. My management was called before a couple of Senate committees just this week to testify about the state funding match that would be possible through the Prop 1A funding. We have investigated very, very thoroughly the ridership for this particular project. We have developed the ridership, we have reviewed the ridership, we have called in an international peer review group to review our ridership modeling, not only the model itself, but also the assumptions and the results. We have a high, medium, and low ridership scenario. All of these ridership scenarios are above the bottom line there, what we call the break-even scenario. So we believe that this project is going to generate positive cash flow and will then attract private investment. From an economic standpoint, the project is going to average about 20,000 jobs over the next 5 years, total of 100,000 job years. And then over the 15-year phase one blended scenario, we would average about 66,000 jobs over that period of time. This project would generate 2,200 permanent operations and maintenance jobs. So as you begin to look at the alternatives and the overall vision for transportation in California, we could have more of the same, building more roads, more highways, more airports, more runways. But we believe that the high-speed rail project affords a better vision for the state of California. I did note with interest your observation on education versus heroin, and what you would like your transportation system to envision. So what's next? Well, obviously the legislature is currently considering the request for $2.7 billion in general obligation bonds that would be sold to cover the Prop 1A obligation. They will have to agree to put this in the state budget, and the governor will have to approve then that state budget. The governor is a big supporter of the project. He has come out in favor of the project. I think he has expended some of his political capital in order to accomplish to put forth that support. And we are very appreciative of the governor and his very high-profile stance on the project. So we're very, very optimistic about the project, and we hope that all of you will stay tuned. We believe that this project, if it goes forth as we currently plan, will be the first high-speed rail system in the United States, but we don't expect that it's going to be the last. Earlier this week, there was a multi-state compact that met here in the western United States. Actually, the meeting was in Los Angeles, but encompassed basically all of the western states. And every western state has representatives within this compact, and they are looking at how to connect their individual high-speed systems to the California high-speed system, and to do that in a very, very logical way. And so those discussions are going forth. And then we have the larger discussion of how to connect a regional high-speed rail system to an overall nationwide high-speed rail system. And the Federal Railroad Administration has put forth their vision for how a high-speed rail system could begin to be developed nationwide. So I thank you for your attention this morning, and I'll be glad to take any questions that you might have.